All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Recovery Unplugged Live. What's up, Amy?
Nothing much. What's up with you?
Not much, not much. Episode 9. We have Erik Kyer in here tonight. How are you, Erik?
How's it going? How's it going?
Thanks for being here. So Amy, before we get into the interview with Erik, what's up? What's some new stuff for you? What's new in your world?
Okay, well, we've got a new reality TV series that I wrote a treatment for.
What's it
I
called?
got it's called Real Recovery.
Real Recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
And it basically picks up where Letters to Daniel go ends, right?
Mhm.
So it's a daily you see me going through life and getting it's a real reflection of what living with bipolar is like. It's not a sensationalized thing. You see me going to a psychiatrist, you see me going to a therapist, but it also but and you see me and Missy's friendship and how the fact she's my primary caregiver is essential to my recovery and to my further success in the film and writing industries. And 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 you see us trying to make it in Hollywood, so to
Gotcha.
speak.
And is it episodic?
Yeah, it's an hour long uh reality TV series.
Gotcha. Cool.
And so it's going out. My manager's going to look it over, and then there's a production company looking for pitches. And so keep your fingers crossed.
Good stuff. Any updates on Letters to Daniel?
Well, next next week we will know if it's been officially selected for the Nova Film Fest. And Nova is the Northern Virginia film and music festival, and it's held up in Alexandria, Virginia. And the films are screened on the Angelique. It's at the Angelica Gateway Theater, so it's a really nice setting. And Letters to Daniel would screen. It would be a nice place, It's like a really nice place for it to screen. So if we get in, I'm totally gonna go, and Anna Maria is gonna come if we get in, and I think Megan is also coming. So I'm hopeful that Megan will get in a nomination. The first two festivals out of the gate, we did really well. We won an award of recognition for disability issues, another one I won best director, and the film won outstanding editing. So I'm hopeful that my actresses will get noticed. Megan, especially because she really, they're both fantastic, but Megan really had to do the hard work of, I was really a wholly unpleasant person at times, and she still had to remain sympathetic and likable.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody can do that. And when we would go take, when she was doing it, she had like this unending, like she could go unending well of emotion just constantly. And I think, the one time it really got to her was when we did the anxiety attack scene, where at the movie theater where she runs around
Yep.
the counter and
Yep.
goes sits down on the bench. She actually had to take a minute to compose herself. But she was really
She
good
did
in
good.
that scene.
She did good. She
She did.
used all of the negative energy that you may have been giving off and internalized it into her character.
Yeah, well, it's me.
You were, no, and you know what? You had to deal with a lot, so it was. I would say a lot of those hijinks were understandable. What's up, everybody? For those of you guys watching live, we doing Recovery Unplugged live. We have Erik Kyer in here, producer, film composer, actor, musician,
Screenwriter.
screenwriter, and we're gonna do an interview with him in just a second. We're just kind of talking about catching up with Amy on all things Letters to Daniel and Healing Hands Productions related. So, welcome. Put your questions and comments and stuff like that in the chat as we go, and we are glad you're here. And make sure that you say hello. so that I can bring those in at the end of the show. Let's talk a little bit about your film festival, and then
Yes.
we're gonna show the trailer for that. So, or it's the kind of our last little video that we did from a previous episode
Yeah,
that talks a little bit more about it.
The Conquering Disabilities with Film International Film Festival.
Yeah,
It's
how's
a
it going?
part of it's a part of the AOF Megafest. I'm getting submissions, and the screen just one of the things that qualifies you for this festival is that you've got to have some kind of challenge. Do you have a mental illness? Do you have a chronic medical condition, physical condition? Are you handicapped in some way? And or you've got to deal with that subject matter. And I've been getting screenplays and films that are just amazing, that just are incredible, and I'm like, God, at first, when I started getting the first in, I'm like, I'm gonna have to make a decision on who wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I've got two other judges whose judgment I trust implicitly.
Good.
So, because in some cases, the people who enter are my friends.
Are they entering cover letters?
Please, cover letter telling me how you qualify for this festival, because there's like specialty awards, and I want to be able to properly recognize you. And so I can only do that if you give me a cover letter.
Right. And it can be all things advocacy and mental health related.
Yes.
And it can be it can be a film related to it, or a person that is a creative that has it.
Okay, right. If you shoot a film, the director, the talent, the screenwriter, or the DP must be dealing with a mental illness.
Okay.
Or the subject matter of the film has to be mental illness. And I'm not looking for stereotypes. I'm not looking for stigma stuff. I'm looking just for good movies done by people who like me. And what's so great about being attached to AOF Megafest out in Vegas is that there are all kinds of opportunities that they provide. Like there's agents, distributors, there's seminars that are the kind of great, professional grade. And if you get accepted into Conquering Disabilities with Film, you'll have access not just to our seminars, our 2 seminars, but all the seminars of the festival during the days that the festival is going on. And then there are 2 award ceremonies. There's one for writers, and it's a dress up affair, but it's not like formal or anything. And it's really good food. And then the black tie awards dinner, as long as you've got a suit and tie or just a regular dress, you'll be fine. And that's it. And ours is the 31st is whenever we'll be doing our film awards. We'll have Conquering Disabilities.
No, the 31st of
July.
All right. Well, let's watch a little bit more about that festival, and then we're going to come back and start the interview.
Conquering Disabilities with Film International Film Festival is about, it takes things like films, screenplays, poems, short stories, music, photography, one sheet, like, movie posters, movies shot on your iPhone, true stories that are narrative, not necessarily documentary. And of course we take documentaries. We take a lot of different stuff, and you have to either be struggling with a mental health condition or a physical challenge, a chronic physical illness, or the material has to address mental health issues. So, and for your film, the way you qualify is if
it is not about mental illness. Your director or your writer or your DP or your talent needs to be facing those conditions. And you put it in the cover letter. Please, people, put it in the cover letter so I can consider you for some specialty awards. It tells me that you're qualified and that, we want to see your work. We want to honor you, and we want to honor that, we know, especially we know firsthand what it's like to battle these things and to produce artwork. So the website for Conquering Disabilities with Film is Conquering Disabilities filmfest.com. And for Film Freeway, it's filmfreeway.com/Conquering Disabilities Film Fest.
Tonight we welcome actor, screenwriter, producer, film composer, and musician, and one of the Imaginarium Film Festival administrators out of my home state of Kentucky, Erik. Why don't we begin at the beginning and what led to your life as a creative, and do you identify yourself more as a film creative or as a musician?
Well, what started the journey really started in music. My dad was a musician. He played in bands and, in the bars, for years. So he was really into Rush. He was a keyboard player and he wanted to learn how to play bass. He loved Rush. So he brought a bass home and, well, he never got to play it because I always had it. And that's where I picked it up and started learning how to play. It was a Fender Precision. Got into school, did the choir thing in school, was in band in school, played tuba, marching band and orchestra. Then even during my early high school years, I got into like the heavier rock bands, playing bass. Played bass for years. And then I started learning how to play guitar because I wanted to be able to write songs. So I learned how to play guitar, and now I'm pretty decent guitar player, lead player, all that kind of good stuff, acoustic, all that good stuff. Then still went back to, my roots with my dad, who was a keyboard player, picked up a lot of, started learning how to play the keyboards a lot better, which led me to be able to compose film currently, so and also, knowing how to record helps out a lot too. So yeah. My dad was like a big sound guy back in his heyday as well. So I kind of took that mantle as well, being able to do audio. So as far as film, or go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, how did you get your start as like an actor or a screenwriter and getting into film?
Well, as far as acting goes, that goes back to high school. Just doing a lot of stage work. And when I got out of high school, I did some community work, churches that I went to, with plays and things like that. So a lot of stage work. So where I got started in film was back in 2016 with Thoughtfly Productions. They did a movie. What was the movie called? Shoot. Still my tongue. Matt's going to kick my butt. Loss Prevention. So Matt said I had actually jammed in a band with Matt. He was the lead singer. And he's one of the owners of Thoughtfly. So they were doing a movie. Throughout the auditions, I threw in a video audition, and I got a small part. It was a one-liner, and that kind of lit the fire again for acting. Except this time, it wasn't on the stage; it was in front of the camera.
Okay. Recently, you had a part in Steven Zimmer's Raid and Valkyrie.
Yes, I did.
We've had him on the show.
Right.
Yeah. How was it working with him and his team?
Well, there's a lot of familiar faces. John Wells, Dale Miller, Katie Stewart, Bishop Stevens. Good gracious. I mean, Nathan Day there as well. Yeah, so a lot of company of familiar faces. But so that was all relaxing. That was very, very natural. No big there. That was the first time I got to work with Steven and Holly. And for me, it was fine. I mean, Steven was usually busy, being the director. Holly doing more administrative things, so I got to talk to her more than I really did Steven. Except when we went back to the motel. That's a different story. But,
Oh no,
but for me, it was a good experience. I had a great experience with Steve and Holly on that first round.
Okay. Which do you prefer more, performing live musically or performing before a camera as an actor, and why is that?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll say it this way. It's the exact same high for me. There's really no difference. I am good if I'm in front of the camera, if I'm in back of the camera. I'm good if I'm in front of people playing, or if I'm in the back running sound, or I'm the engineer in the studio. I love it all the same. There's no difference for me. And to be honest with you, to me, I get just as much joy as doing every one of those things as the other.
Okay. You also assist Steven Zimmer in the running of the film festival portion of Imaginarium Convention.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Well, right now we're in the beginning stages. We just met yesterday, had a great time together. Great meeting, just getting some other things lined out, doing some final tweaks before we really start diving into the viewing process with all the film entries. Really great time last year at Imaginarium when we kind of first started tossing ideas around about kind of moving a different direction of how we want to do the film festival this year. It'll be very, very different than what has been before. And,
how so?
Well, we're gonna give people a theater experience. So, like when you go to a movie, there are just certain things you expect when you go watch a movie at a theater. We want to give you that exact same experience.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. So the other part of that is if the producer or director, they can come in and they can set up a merch table like it's a concert. They can set up a merch table while their movie's going on. Like a little bit of time, they'll have some time before and they'll have some time after. They may have done other movies. They'll have an opportunity to sell that and whatever other merch that they have to basically present themselves to whoever's there. So tickets will be like $5 is what we're settled on at the moment. So basically be a $5 charge to come in to watch the feature films. We're looking at, as far as short films, there'll be like a 2-hour block of short films, which will be $5. You'll get to go in and see a slew of short films in that block of time.
Okay.
So yeah.
That is fantastic. Now, if you don't mind, we're going to switch gears and talk about mental health.
Yeah.
1 in 5 people experience a mental illness in their lifetime. Have you ever experienced mental illness either directly or as a caregiver to someone with it?
I would not directly, but more as a caregiver.
How so?
It started with a memory, and what they call it, a recluse memory, I believe it's called. And from that point, it affected that person's mind and their behavior and the way and their perspective of not only outside their world but inside their world, because those two things were totally different. So it was a challenge being able to keep a family moving in some kind of normalcy, at the same time as making sure that their needs were taken care of, and until they could pull out what I would always call an episode. And they for quite a few years they were in and out of that, but as time goes on, time heals. That really isn't much of a problem anymore. Actually, it's really not a problem anymore. It's just been more. It was just probably about a good decade, maybe 12 years. We went through that, journey together to allow them to heal, allow their mind to heal. but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot of patience. You know, it taught me to have a different perspective. I had a friend of mine. This person was talking about they were seeing certain things, and he looked at her and goes, you know, I believe that you're seeing those things. I believe that you believe that that is real. And it just took me back for a second, and I was like, you know, that is right. That is a correct perspective. What they see is what they are believing in, whether it's real or not. To them, it is real. So it took me in a different direction, you know, and like I said, it taught me a lot of patience. It just gave me a different mindset, you know, when just dealing with people in general, just being more open-minded about how people perceive things and how people relate to things. So it's a great experience for me.
How has your mental health impacted your career, both negatively and for the better?
Well, negatively, because I want to end with positive. Negatively, um, it can become very draining, physically and mentally, to a point where you're not wanting to deal with anything up to a certain level. Although you really need to deal with things above that level, you know, especially when, like for me, being in management, you're managing other people. You know, you have responsibilities, and it's not only to your job, but it's to those people, so they can do their job. And so, from a negative point of view or negative perspective, it becomes a major challenge because it's not just about you; it's about the people who rely on you as well. From a positive perspective, I can say I'm a better listener. I'm a much better listener. Um, I slow myself down because I'm very active and you know it's very passionate. But you got to slow. You have to have the ability to slow yourself down for a second to be able to understand where people are coming from when you're trying to have a conversation. And sometimes those conversations are conflicted, but nevertheless, you still have to be able to listen and try to understand where they're coming from to be able to handle what goes, you know, from there. So,
Okay. What would you say you do to cope with times personally that challenge your mental health?
what do I do personally?
Yeah, what are some coping skills and coping mechanisms you use when maybe you get over you just
Yeah,
it just gets you get drained and it's too much?
I literally have to start thinking about something else. I walk away. That's usually my biggest cope. I just literally just walk away. I get out of that atmosphere just so I can get into a different atmosphere, just so I can able to collect my thoughts, get my head back together. Yeah, as a lot of people would say, where I get my zen. Yeah, you know, just being able to collect myself, because my all my actions will determine a reaction, whether that's negative or positive. And some of that can be considered, you know, um, losing my job if I, you know, interact incorrectly, you know, react
Yeah.
incorrectly. So that's the biggest thing I do. I get away from it for a minute just so I can collect myself, you know, because if I a lot of times if I go the path that I start on, when I start getting into those type of situations, um, I normally will regret the outcome of that. So yeah.
Okay. Would you say music is a healing outlet for you? And
Oh
why do you
yeah.
think that is?
Oh yes. Oh yes. And I tell you, one of the biggest surprises, when you look at the healing part, is that when was film scoring. Um, I found that very, I don't know, very relaxing, challenging, yeah, because of what it entails, but it was very relaxing. You know, you get to some parts that are slower, so you have to, you know, play to that type of atmosphere in the movie. And for me, I really like being able to sit down on my keyboard or just playing the acoustic and just get mellow. You know, that's all of that is very therapeutic for me, and this helps me get into a different zone. That's much better place.
Okay. What would you say has been the most humbling moment when it comes to your mental health and also your strongest?
I would say the most humbling is you. I had to admit that I was wrong about my approach. You know,
Mhm.
to that, it was wrong, and I grew up being one of those guys. I didn't like. I was never wrong. What are you talking about? I knew everything. It was one of those, I knew everything but didn't know nothing. But no, it was the becoming humble. I didn't have all the answers. I really had to go and be instructed on something that I didn't really know anything about. And that was different. It was very different, very very different.
And then what was your strongest moment, would you say?
Strongest moment is when I saw the person that I was related to coming out of that, yeah, being healed, from that 10 to 12 years of dealing with those memories that they had stuck inside them since they were children, since they were a child, and just be able to come out of that, that was pretty amazing, actually.
Okay. Now, now we're going to have a little fun.
Oh
If
boy.
if your life was a movie, what would the title be?
um Kai or fire. Yeah. Kai or fire.
How come?
Well, like I said, I'm very passionate. I mean, I'm not a slouch. I'm always on the go. Um, 11 hours a day at work, doing an interview with you tonight. You know, I was on, this whole past weekend, I took vacation to go to meetings. Played Friday night with the cover band that I play with. Saturday I was in Richmond, driving from Louisville to Richmond. By there by 12, I didn't get home till 2 o'clock. So had that meeting that took all day. Spent the night with Tori Jones, and then on my way back home, I stopped in with Stephen Holly to talk Imaginarium and just hang out with them for a minute. So then I get home and got to do laundry because I got to get ready for the week. I do my own laundry. I
Yes.
do my own. I do my own. Worked 11 hours today. Came home and did a little bit more business, and then here I am with you. So that's every week for me.
Okay. If
Constant
you
go.
if you can meet any one of your musical heroes, who would it be and why?
Um, it would definitely be Geddy Lee from Rush. And the main reason why that would be is because he is not, over the years, if you watch their career, they've never been the type to go out and be the drinking and drugs and all that too. A lot of bands wind up doing. Rush's approach was always just very mature and intelligent. That they had successful marriages, all of them, and he's just a very intelligent person. But he's also very artistic, and I mean, he's in all kinds of things, and he's just funny. The guy is just funny. I mean, if you ever go to a Rush show, they actually have these skits in between their songs. Some of their songs. They'll do a little bit of songs, and they'll have this little skit. What's all the band members doing these little skits, and they're all hilarious. So this, yeah. I mean, that's me. That's what I like. That's what I like. I'm drawn to that.
Okay. What are your top 5 favorite albums of all time?
Oh snap! Uh, I'm gonna go back and forth. This is gonna be crazy. All right, so 80s title, 80s band would be Rat, Out of the Cellar. That was their first breakthrough album. Loved every song on that album. I guess another one would be Seven Dust. Animosity, great album there, great album. Um, hmm. Another one would be a band called Nightwish, and I don't really have a specific album from them. There's just a slew of songs that I just love the band, and that actually would go for Camelot as well. That's 4, and then let's see, I'm gonna have to, and Rush would have to be right on top of that as well. I'm very like progressive music, so
Okay.
really just the decades of those guys.
What would you say your greatest joy and accomplishment in both your professional career and personal life have been?
My biggest accomplishment personally has been being a father. I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren, and
Wow.
that's the best accomplishment that I can say that I've ever had, hands down. Professionally, I almost go back and forth. I go back and forth on that, but what really is the most accomplished is just being a composer, because I've been able to take that into film, and obviously I've been able to take that into just music in general. I've actually played original music most of my musical career, so it's just been being a writer, and just being able to work with different people that love music passionately, just like I do. I mean, that's a major awesome deal there. Yeah.
And finally, what advice would you give to a musician struggling not only to like make it, but they are also struggling with their mental health as well?
You got to have faith. You have to have faith. You have to have faith that what's been placed inside of you is stronger than all the elements that you're going to come against. The strength is there. It really is. Sometimes it takes somebody else to tap into that for you. Sometimes it just takes a moment in time of realization, when you're by yourself. But what I do know is faith is a strong component for success and victory in any part of a person's life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, John, that's my last question. Do you have anything to add?
I don't have any questions to add. That was a great interview. Thanks, Erik. Thanks, Amy. Good job.
Thank you.
The passing of the Rush drummer, did that hit your dad pretty hard?
We really didn't talk about that, but it hit me pretty hard. I can tell you that.
Did you see the Facebook or the picture going around social media of that guy's drum set and how it was set up? I mean, I can't play one drum, right? And he had like 75 in an octagon around his chair. I'm like I was blown away.
There was a lot of talk about him, man. That Neil Peart, that he would develop his drum lines mathematically. That's how he looked at it. That's how he perceived it. And so when you look at his drum sets, or at least the way that he sets everything up, because he turned around.
Mm-hmm.
He had different sets within the set. To me, it became very evident that was just his approach.
Yeah, it kind of makes you look at it, right? Exactly. And then you hear that, and then you kind of look at that picture, and you're like, I might need to go back and take a listen, a deeper listen to songs and stuff.
Yeah.
What's it like? What's it like doing your own laundry? I haven't had to do that in like 10 years, I would say.
You want to know what my secret is, man?
I do all the dishes, though. Caveat. I do all the dishes.
I'll tell you my secret, and I've been doing this for decades. Use cold water.
Cold, man. That's like every guy.
Can't go wrong.
Every
You'll
guy
never
that-
have anything.
Yep. Every guy that
Nothing's
does
gonna
laundry
fade on
is
anything,
like
man.
cold. I'm actually like,
Dude.
I'm just not allowed to do laundry because there are things that go in the washer that need warm or need hot, and I have no idea because I use your mantra. So
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
"Mm-mm,
I'm just
no,
saying.
go
That's
do the
why I only
dishes."
do my own clothes. I don't do the rest of them.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man.
And I don't wear a lot of whites.
Right. And I also appreciated your perspective on not only advocacy, but learning from previous mistakes, having an open mind, and being able to listen differently and listen through the eyes of the person that's speaking. That was really powerful for me. And then the other one is like, I'm kind of the same way as you are, as like, I'm comfortable in front of the camera, behind the camera.
Yeah.
On Letters to Daniel, I had so much fun working with Mark Manis. Like, he ran me like a dog on Letters to Daniel as what is that? Assistant
He said key grip.
Key
That's
grip.
the position. He
Oh,
was
right
a
on.
key grip.
I had fun, man. Mark was like telling me, like, by the second day, it was money. I was trained. He's like, he got me where I needed to go.
Mark Manis is an amazing teacher, and he had a way of teaching everyone on that set. And
Cool.
you know, as a DP with 34 years experience, he could have very easily taken over that set and made that his movie, but he took care to make it my movie, but still giving me the benefit of all those years of experience.
Right
There was not a single solitary ego on that set, and given that we had 30 people come through that set, that's I was very fortunate. Everybody came there, everybody was prepared, except that one scene I was talking about. But everybody was my leads, and everybody, and like he mentioned, Brandon and Guns We Trust. He is in Letters to Daniel. He plays Patrick.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's cool. I'm comfortable in both areas, so that's cool. I am not a musician, or I played trumpet, but I definitely can't do film. I can't do film scores or anything like that. So that's definitely cool. Well, thanks, Erik. How can people get a hold of you, or any last kind of promo or shout out you want to give before we watch the trailer to Letters to Daniel?
Yeah, anybody that wants to take a look at me, or they can just go to my Facebook page. I do a lot of advertising and everything on my personal page. I do a little bit of stuff on my other pages that I have, but I do mostly on my personal page.
Okay.
It's not like I'm world famous or anything, so I try not to burden myself with all that. Just try to keep it in one spot. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is my band, Deny the Fallen.
Hold it up a little bit closer.
All right. How's that? Let me get it over here.
There you go.
How's that?
Yep.
See a little better? That's Deny the Fallen. We're actually going to go to Éxodo Fest in Mexico in April. Big festival there. We're excited about that. And we are going to be at Imaginarium Friday night, Rock Night. So
nice.
Very excited about that. It's going to be a big deal this year. We've got Poetry of the Dead, Jason Allen's band. We've got a band called Warhol, more of the symphonic kind of stuff. Very excited about that. Please check them out. They are great. But yeah, we just got this released on Retroactive Records, our record. So pretty stoked about that.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Erik.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on.
Thanks, man.
All right, Amy, before we watch the Letters to Daniel trailer, who's up next week on Recovery Unplugged Live?
Well, it could be a couple of different people. Because
these are fun. We'll tell you guys on Friday.
Yeah. either Laurel Adler or Patrick Hampton.
Okay. All right, everyone. This is Recovery Unplugged Live. Amy, tell everyone goodbye, and we're going to watch your trailer.
Dear Daniel Craig, life did not always look like this. This marked a moment of triumph, a way of crushing an abysmal past and daring those with a stereotypical view of those with mental illness to challenge me on any front. To many, this was just a documentary. For me and Missy, this was our love.
It's like my skin is coming off. And my thoughts, they're racing so fast. I can't keep up.
I'm suffering too, you know. You're not the only one.
It's like my mind is coming apart and I can't get it to come together.
I think it's more than just that. Amy's been having a really hard time lately. She goes on these crying jags. She explodes without warning. She's so angry and so paranoid these days. She's not the happy Amy that I remember from Kentucky.
She thinks you're manic depressive. I, however, do not. I think this is something you've been obsessing on. I believe that it's all in your head.
Great week for us. Just come here. We're going to get you some help. I'll be okay. You do have a diagnosis. You have rapid cycling manic depression.
Dear Daniel Craig, bipolar disorder and those that saw it as contagious sought to pull me under, snap me in half, break me down. Even those well-intentioned do-gooders who see therapy and medication as bad and wrong, who see mentally ill individuals as hapless and hopeless, they're wrong. I found hope in your work. A comrade in Missy, my rock when no one else understood. You two are my twin lights when this disease threatened to take me down. And treatment was what got me through. Thank you, Daniel, for your talent and your work. Thank you for everything. Sincerely, Amy McCorkle.